Alrighty. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages, super intelligent shades of the the colour, sky blue pink, or purple, or whichever colour you might identify as. We really couldn't care less what colour you think you are. Hopefully, I can get that to mute. Shush. Right. Hopefully Jess will be with us very, very soon. She's just been held up a very small amount, I'm told, by being a busy mother of a number of young children and a business person in her own right, and trying to get everything done before Christmas that she needs to. So we understand entirely. Jess will be with us as soon as she possibly can. In the meantime, we do have a few moments to once again go over one or two things. Number one, there's an interesting little poll, I think, that I've put up there just to get people's opinions on in terms of what the most important factors are in terms of communicating out there. Good to see you, Joff. Kia ora hoa. Yes, so the poll is asking whether or not the facts are more important than the feels, or whether you're a gutless fence sitter. So do participate, just a bit of fun, while we are waiting for herself. In the meantime, also, we can go over once again the laws in the independent sovereign nation of Pimbatia. So we can. First of all, the first of the things that you need to understand is on the screen right now. Omnisursia Doridibent, which means everybody must worship the bear. This is the sacred law here, and of course, the overriding, I guess, factor is that we must all understand is et commodite canis et non cantare, which means eat meat and no singing. All right. So I hope we've all got that. Let's see who's in the house. First, of course, is Lieutenant General Mark Linford of the Meat Militia. Of course, we expect the General Staff to be here on time. Good work. So, yes, well done. Well done indeed. Yes, good morning, soldier. Good to see you. Yes, Yulutud is in the house. Yulutud. I think you're taking the piss out of my accent. It's yellow Ted. But people think I'm saying Yulutud. Right, good. Hello, Nature's Recorder. Good to see you. Joff, good to see you. Parasensus. That's a new one. Not sure I've seen you here before. Welcome. Welcome to the Meat Militia live stream. Craziness of all sorts. Yes, howdy, beautiful people. Yes, Duncan's in the house. Good to see you. Melted cheese. We like a bit of melted cheese. I've been having a very small amount of mozzarella cheese manufactured right here in the independent sovereign nation of Pimbatia by Her Majesty Pim, Queen of Pirates, first of a name, mother of puppies the unpoked, who made it from some freshly milked goat's cheese. Milk. Freshly milked goat's milk. Come on, son. Goodness gracious. Dan, haven't seen you for a while. Where have you been? Glad you're here. Wolverine's in the house. Good. Joff can't wait to get his hardcore carnivore stem enhanced. Me too. Yes. It's imminent, Joff, I can promise you. I'm speaking to the folks that know these things at a corporate level in the last few days. There is an imminency of the provision of stem enhanced hardcore carnivore. So for those of you who don't know what on earth I'm talking about there, basically for about 18 months I've been at the Sorul company to produce an alternate parallel formulation of the stem enhanced containing all the active ingredients that makes it do what it does, all of which are carnivore friendly, but instead of putting it in a cellulose capsule, which isn't, and using a rice starch as a flow agent, which is questionable in terms of whether it's carnivore or not, because you can't actually absorb it, it just goes straight through. Anyway, what they've done is they've removed those two things, just for us. So in the New Zealand and Australian market, we're the test market. So what we need to do is support that get that stuff ordered, get it happening so that the company can understand that we really were serious and we would really like them to continue to produce this hardcore carnivore formulation. Because if we don't, then they won't roll it out internationally and everyone will be at us because it was the New Zealanders and Australians that didn't come to the party. And we can't have that. Can we, New Zealand and Australia? Goodness! No, we can't have that. That would end up with a late night visit, I think, for all of you from His Majesty Lord Edward Yellow Ted. And he will bring his bucket of soapy frogs. He will also no doubt bring his wetsuit with the bottom cut out. And he will probably also have in tow his rampant wildebeest. You don't want that. Trust me. I've seen all of these things happen. It's not a pretty picture. Right, warning, off topic. Good. Question. If I ate several cookies after staying completely strict carnivore for over a year, how long to recover? Well, it depends. How long's a piece of string? How many is several, and what sort of cookies, and what was in them? What are your genes, and how do they respond to the environment in which they've been placed right now? You tell us how long it took you to recover, when you've recovered, and we'll go, ooh. Okay. Hello, Jonathan. Good to see you. Yes, Morena, which means good morning for those that don't know. How to know if stem cell supplements are working for me? Well, if you were in perfect health before you started taking them, and you're still in perfect health ongoingly, then they're at least not doing any harm. The general rule of thumb is, over time, your health will deteriorate at some point. So the longer it doesn't, the more you might be convinced that it's useful. If you did have some health concerns and they've started to clear up, then at least it's not doing any harm. And possibly it's contributing to the fact that your health complaints are clearing up. Maybe. We're not allowed to make therapeutic claims, is what I'm saying, basically. Melted cheese, so we have to be very careful. All right, Dan, thank you. Keeping up with the STEM Enhance and applying your principles. Excellent. You're referring, of course, to the 5 health hacks that a person should apply to their lives in order to reduce their chronic systemic inflammatory overburden. And for those of you who don't know what those 5 health hacks are, all you need to do is go to a video on my fine channel called 5 Health Hacks You Need to Know About. And watch it, and then you'll know. How's that? Good morning, Frank. Good to see you. Yes. Who else is in the house? Good morning, Shah. You're a bit late, Shah. I think you should report to Ted afterwards. He'd like to have a chat with you about your tardiness today. Can I get the Carnivore product and still get a visit from Ted? Yes, you can, as long as you ask nicely. But of course, I will have to give him a leave of absence from twiddling my knob. Twiddling the knobs, which he always does. Don't you, Ted? Good boy, Ted. You keep twiddling the knob. Those knobs. Good boy. Right. Greetings from Croatia. Greetings to Croatia. Excellent. Healing and love to all. Yes. Excellent. Is it true that eating multiple times a day could accelerate aging? Yes. Many things are possible, and that's one of them. It might not too. It's also individual. It depends on your genes and the environment in which you place them at any given time, including all your habits. It's a rich tapestry, confounds, covariates, collinearities. That's why most of the so-called science in health talks about possibilities. This might be the case, that might be the case, the other thing might be the case as well. In other words, not actual science. Well, it is actual science so long as the actual scientists that report the actual science that talks about possibilities is absolutely clear with the readership that what they are talking about is some possibilities. Unfortunately, that discipline tends to go out the window and people start talking about what is. For example, the discussion I had with Dr. Suresh this week, where, in my opinion, he was rather too unequivocal about what is. And I showed that up on many, many occasions. Hence the interesting poll I've got going there, actually, because I was just reading through some of the comments on Suresh's channel on the same video. And of course, it's a big loving for Suresh over there, and I'm a bad, bad person and very, very arrogant and etc. Anything but actually dealing with the argument that we had. And I don't mean argument in a negative sense. I mean, he made his points, and I think he did a great job of making his points. And I made my points, and I think I did a reasonable job of that for my part. I was polite throughout. I wasn't throwing around the usual F-bombs and C-bombs that I do for clicks and for, shock jockery. Because Suresh is a good bloke, and he's basically on our team. But he's misguided in several areas, I think. And I just wanted to point to that as politely as I possibly could, while still getting the point across that Suresh was misguided. Not necessarily in his opinion, because an opinion is an opinion, and he's entitled to one. His surety that his opinion is correct, valid, and indicated for patients, that's the issue. And so that's what we were talking about. Anyway, so there it is. Also, what you generally find is when you do look at commentary posted under videos on various people's YouTube channels, it's usually quite clear what the general average IQ of the viewership of that particular channel is when you start reading those comments. Just saying. And, at the end of the day also, it would have been awesome if some people on Suresh's channel that watch his channel actually engaged with the actual arguments instead of giving their opinion on who's a bad bald man and who's a good bald man. Because, whatever. So, that's what the poll's about. It's about what's more important, the facts or the feels. Or the third option there is, I'm a gutless fence sitter, which is a valid option if you want to show yourself up to be a valid. Well, you're not going to show yourself up because it doesn't identify you on there, but it's just for fun. Relax. The whole thing's for fun, really, as well as for education. There you go. All right, what else is happening in the chat? Elma is here. Good to see you, Elma. Good morning. Indeed. Is today Q&A? Well, not really. We've got Jess coming on as soon as she possibly can, and she's going to give us an update on, well, several years of being a carnivore. So we can find out how that's turned out for her, whether it's been a good thing, a bad thing, or an indifferent thing, and in what way. And, yeah, it's all good. And we love us a bit of Jess up in here. She's awesome. Do women need 3 times more iron than men? Well, I wouldn't necessarily say 3 times, and that's rather a definite answer to a question that has some variability around it. There's always a noise around every signal. And indeed, RDAs, RDIs on many nutrients and components of the human diet are numbers that are actually pulled out of a convenient orifice somewhere rather than actually based in experimental science. The issue, of course, being that experimental science on human beings tends to get the backs up of people that sit on ethics committees. They tend to not like such things. Good morning, DC. Good to see you. Looking forward to having a chat with yourself and the marvellous Dr. Kiltz in the new year. That's going to be awesome. I'm looking forward to that very much. And probably you and I will have a chat before then too, but I just thought I'd highlight that one as something to look forward to while we're waiting for the lovely Jess to make an appearance. Questions. Pasture duck eggs fed non-GMO corn and soy, good or not? Yeah, no problem, as far as I can tell, really. I mean, at the end of the day, soy and corn are not valid food sources for humans, but there's no reason why a duck shouldn't, necessarily. By the way, we got 7 new ducks yesterday. We now have a total of 7 and 7 is 14, and 8 is 24 ducks at various ages and stages. Well, I say ducks. Yesterday's ducks are actually Muscovy. So we got 8 Muscovy at 6 weeks old yesterday, and these are big, robust, muscular meat birds. They are awesome. and we've put them in with some Indian runners that are kind of smaller, daintier sort of animals for a different purpose, eggs. And they're getting on fine, famously. It's great. They've worked out that there's no need to go to war with each other, and yeah, they're all having a lovely time in the duck pen. So they are. So there it is. Hello, the feral grandma. Good to see you. Good to see you. Arwen just checked the blood glucose. 193 after 8 chocolate chip shite cookeries. Well, what did you expect? What did you expect? Goodness gracious, Arwen. All right. Right. What's next? Question. My grandma kept the ghee in the pan overnight and used it the next day to cook again. Is that okay? Well, I mean, okay is a strong statement, isn't it? Okay on the basis of what? According to whom? And what exactly was it used for the day before, and at what temperature, and for how long, and such. So, what is your opinion on EWAT? I have no idea what EWAT stands for, but I will give you an opinion on TLAs or FLAs. There are PITA, FFS. Use English words, for God's sake. Right. Is building maximum muscle mass naturally puts heart on stress? If you mean, does building maximum muscle mass naturally put any stress on the heart? Well, of course it does, because you have to do some exercise to achieve it, which puts some stress on the heart. I think the problem here is that people, like Dr. Suresh, assume that stress is contraindicated, and that any marker of stress, ergo, paints a picture of contraindicated activity, which is not so. How's that? Right. I screened my fat and put it in the refrigerator. Good. Rick, do you have any Muscovy? I have Muscovy, Rick. What do they taste like? I'm told they taste a bit like lamb. We also have some lamb. Well, we have hoggets. We'll get some lamb soon. Anyway, it seems like Jess is here, so we will welcome the lovely Jess Henrard. Good to see you. How are you doing, hun?
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, super duper. Busy as a blue-ass fly, of course, trying to be a farmer and a YouTube influencer and all of that. We were just talking about having picked up 7 new farm, I guess, members yesterday. We got some Muscovy. Muscovy is what we got.
What are they? Are they sheep?
Well, Muscovy are, well, they look exactly like ducks, and people call them ducks, but they're actually more closely related to geese. They're a big meat bird. So yeah, we've put them in with our Indian runner ducks, and they're all getting along famously so far.
Cute. Are you going to eat them, though?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Yum, yum, yum. And we're going to use the Indian runners. I think they're more for eggs. We've also got a mixed litter of mongrel ducks as well that are a few weeks old that hatched out here that we were told were a certain kind, and it turned out that they weren't. But that's fine. We'll eat them too at some point. And
that's fine. We don't discriminate against meat.
That's right. We have no discriminatory. You know, we'll eat anybody. Speaking of we'll eat anybody, if people would like to visit the independent sovereign nation of Pimbatia, otherwise known as Pimbatia Farm, unless she's not listening, in which case it's just called Batia. All you need to do is send us an email, and the deal is that you come and stay with us, we put you up, we feed you for a bit, you give us 20 hours of farm labour, and you can do other things around the region here, which is a beautiful
20
part of New Zealand,
hours for farm labour?
Yeah.
Seems a bit steep.
Well, you know, we don't want to give ourselves away too cheaply, do we? Do we? But anyway, what you will have to do, if you want to do that, if you're not already a good friend of mine, is you'll have to get past Ted, and he'll do the vetting at some point. All right, anyway, enough about us and the farm and whatever else. We're here to talk about Jess and what she wants to update us on. So, for background, Jess went basically 100% carnivore several years ago, and it's been absolutely fucking disastrous, hasn't it, Jess?
Oh, terrible. My hair fell out.
Yeah. Yeah. I
She's
turned
here.
into a newt, but I got better. Tell us about it.
Sorry, I'm just taking out my eggs out of the pan that I forgot that I put on just before we started our call. So
Right.
I'm going to eat while I chat to you. I'm
Lovely.
good. Everything's great. Life is well.
Yep.
What's going on? Oh, yeah, I totally got scurvy. Thanks.
Yep. Totally.
Food's great. Life's great. Health is really great.
Yeah.
Last time I spoke to you, and yes, you have released that video, haven't you? Because it was actually quite a while ago.
Yeah.
But I was looking into how to improve my skin. That was like my next thing of wanting to do, because Carnivore has been so incredible for me. And for those of you who don't know me, I healed a heap of stuff. A lot of skin actually tightened post 3 births. Obviously body recomposition, just health issues that I kind of dealt with for a really long time started to heal and resolve. And yeah, it's been really great for me. And since then, I have obviously been living it and breathing it and sharing it with other people. So I will never stop. It's not something that's just like, you know, it's Carnival month in January and I'm like, well, it's Carnival year for me, because it's just year after year. This is just a lifestyle rather than something that I do temporarily. And yeah, I'm thriving. So now I'm just like, I'm honing into like what else I can improve on my body. One of the things being skin. So I had 2 skin issues. One was basically this saggy, wrinkly, loose skin post-birth and post-losing weight, wanting to improve that. And then the other skin was actually from a kind of like an eczema dermatitis condition that I have suffered from. And I was born as an infant covered in eczema. So I was born with gut issues. I was in ICU. I had lots of problems as an infant. So my journey really has been since birth to try and find better health. So the dermatitis skin condition that I've suffered with originally came about because I had very, very old breast implants that I got put in when I was 20. And so I carried them around in my body for 2 decades like an idiot without really considering the impact that it was having on my health. And basically I gave myself a poisoning of sorts, and am still dealing with that. So there's 2 skin things that I wanted to heal in those 2. I spoke to Bart and he told me about Dr. Abs and said, have a chat to Dr. Abs. He's amazing. We did a podcast. I haven't even released it yet, but we did a podcast and he introduced me to a product called Sneakos. Did I tell you about this already?
No. Go on. No.
Well, it's a injectable, and it basically works on restoring the cell matrix integrity, and it's injected straight into that, and it's natural. So it's made of hyaluronic acid and amino acids. So natural products. Essentially, there's nothing left in the body after it's injected. It's not a pharmaceutical, and it basically restores. It's like localized carnivore. You know, it's giving you everything it requires to thrive, to try and heal the skin across my chest, and also to just try it on my stomach. So it's injectables, which means injections. And because I had it on a little bit around my eyes and here, across my chest wall where I have the skin condition, and on my stomach, I had over 200 injections.
Oh, God.
One go. Yeah. So you're literally lying there and they use ice. So they ice and inject and ice and inject and ice and inject and ice and inject. And I literally, it was an hour and 45 minutes of about 200 plus injections.
Right.
Yeah, it was
better or worse than getting a tattoo?
Oh my God, so much. Oh, hard to say. Because I can regulate my nervous system and my system is really strong, I could keep myself regulated. So I was like climbing into defensive states, bringing myself back down, climbing into defensive states, you know, like the whole almost 2 hours of it. She was like, how are you doing this? Because she could see when I got dysregulated, and then I'd regulate myself, my heart rate, everything would come back down. And she's looking at me like, what are you doing? I said, I work in health, nervous system, literally nervous system is my jam. So I know how to keep myself regulated. So I was okay versus when I had, tattoos done. Can't really say because I was in a different health place, but
of course, yeah.
either. But there was probably, out of the 200 injections, there was probably 6 that were like, oh my God, that's painful.
You can say it. You're allowed.
I don't know if I'm cancer. I'm like, but I yelled it out, poor lady. So I'm all like calm and zen, and then I'm like, motherfucker!
Yes, love it. Cool.
So, anyway, you basically with this product, you have it injected 3 times over. So you do it 2 weekly. So every 2 weeks you get 200 injections. So I've got my last round of 3 on this Monday coming, and I would have had 3 rounds of this product. And I can see change definitely in my skin, and the skin on my stomach has improved. My chest is going through this whole like breakout thing, which is something that can actually happen because it's changing the microbiome directly in the tissues, and so that they can get all angry and so I'm excited to see how that goes with those things. But that's been quite intense, and definitely wouldn't recommend that for people that are like, I had needle phobias as well. So God knows how I got through. Well, I know how I got through it, but like when I used to faint when I had a blood test or any kind of needle when I was younger, to having 200 and just being like zen about it, it just shows how far I've come in my health journey. So
awesome.
Yeah, that's been going on.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. All right. So, have you experienced any electrolyte imbalances as part of your journey?
No.
Nope.
No.
Good. Yeah, not everybody does.
No.
Cool. You also gave yourself up there a bit a few minutes back, Jess, and you told people that you're actually well into your 40s.
Yeah. I'm going to be 42 in a couple of months.
So there you go. So this carnivore thing obviously is just dreadful. I'm actually 107 myself. Whatever. There we have it. Very, very good.
Have you spoken about the new product coming out, or what?
I thought I have before you came on a bit. But if you look at the bottom of the screen, there's a ticker tape going across the screen right now that talks about the new hardcore carnivore stem enhance option, which basically the difference between that and the standard stem enhance ultra is not in any of the active ingredients or in any of the things that actually do the thing that it's supposed to do. They're all still there. It's still the same product that does the same thing, and it still works as well as it does, which is brilliantly, by the way. The difference is the cellulose capsule, which is no good for some people, like Jess, and the rice starch flow agent, which is no good for people that say, that's not carnivore. They're both gone.
Yay!
Awesome. Yay! Which means that Jess can take the stuff without having to take it out of the capsules and piss around with the green powder and get it all up her nose and whatever else. And it's an option. Yeah. So what do you think? Are you excited for this, or?
I actually am excited for this because I'm so sensitive. Literally, I call myself a canary. They would have sent me in and tested me for. I'm so sensitive, and because I have eaten so well and looked after myself and nourished myself so well over the years, whenever I put anything in my system that is no bueno, it shows up straight away. So I was incredibly sensitive to the cellulose capsules. And I did spend hours and hours taking them out and putting them in water and trying to shock them back and not get, blue and green powder everywhere. But so I'm super excited for it. And I was kind of expecting that it was going to be in some kind of like tub or container. But the fact that they've just put it in a bovine capsule is really convenient. So that was a nice surprise as well. I'm excited to get back on it because I haven't taken it for a few months because of the mess. Yeah. And I'm always, whenever I try something new, I try to reduce the parameters of other things influencing. So when I decided I was going to do this Synecos injectables, I just kept doing my stem cells as well at the same time, so I could clearly see what one thing was doing over another.
Yep. Cool.
So that's just the way I kind of like to try things, so that I can do a bit of a clear, which is what I did with Cerule as well. When I went first to Carnivore, that's when I started Cerule at the same time, and I was like, which is doing the goodness.
Yeah.
So then I stopped Cerule for a while, and then when I added it back in, I did notice a difference in my energy levels and my skin, and like, so I knew that it was doing the thing that it was doing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm excited for this new one. I just want to get it into the wellness pack so that people can.
Yes, so we're working on that too, so that people can put that in their wellness packs instead of having to quick order it. In this first very relatively small sized batch that is going to go out for the first pioneers that pre-order, it won't go in the wellness pack, but thereafter it's our intention that it absolutely will be completely parallel to the existing formulation. It will go in wellness packs. You will be able to get it at the better price, etc., etc., etc.
Okay.
The crux is this, though, guys, and let me say this again for those that haven't listened to this so far. New Zealand and Australia is the test market for the hardcore carnivore Cerule range, and it will be a range. We will do it for all the main products, including the collagen, which has some issues. But we will do that. I say we, it's not we, it's the Cerule company in concert with me. They will do it if this flies. If you guys don't order this stuff up, they will take that as a message that I've been pulling the wrong chains all along and that I'm making the shit up and that you guys don't want this stuff. And then they'll say, well, it's not a financially viable thing to do, and it'll end up in the bottom filing drawer, guys.
Can I ask a question on that?
Please, yeah.
Why don't they just change the whole product? Why are they just still going to offer the other one with all the stupidness?
Well, if you look at the bottle, it talks about being okay for vegans and okay for this and that, and so there is a market in that regard. Yeah, because the main active ingredients in the stem enhance, etc., come from cyanobacteria, which are not plants, and neither are they animals.
No.
So they're okay for both vegans and carnivores.
Right.
But you can't put them in bovine capsules and say it's okay for vegans, and you can't put them in cellulose capsules and say that's okay for carnivores. So that's where we've been at. And the flow agent being a rice starch, same deal.
Yeah.
So that's why we have to have these parallel offerings to keep everybody happy. So that's basically what it is, but it means 2 separate runs with a clean down of all the machinery in between.
Oh my God, what a hassle.
I know. But the carnivore Cerule community is now at such a size that the Cerule people have decided that it's time to listen to what I've been saying, that I think there's a market for this and I think our people want this. It needs to be parallel. It needs to be something that's available. I'm not saying stop taking the other stuff if you are already on that, and neither am I saying stop taking it and wait for the new stuff.
No.
Because it's probably going to be a week or 2 away yet, because they're still encapsulating as we speak. But we do need to show that there's enough interest in this that it's viable. And if, as a market, the New Zealand and Australian market fail to get behind this, they'll can it internationally. And then everybody else in the world will be at us, saying it's you guys, you're the problem, you failed us. So let's not fail the rest of the world, Australia and New Zealand. Let's get this stuff ordered up en masse. Anyway, so that's what we have to say about that. So once that flies and we get it going, we've also got the Cyactive, which again, cellulose capsule becomes bovine, rice starch becomes the non-rice starch flow agent. It's silica, by the way, for those that want to know what it actually is, the new flow agent. The plasma flow, same deal. Additionally, with the 1 or 2 or 3 or 4, whatever, however many there are, plant extracts that are in the formulation of the plasma flow currently, what we've said is, well, we don't think that they're necessary. We don't think they add a huge amount, if anything, and carnivores don't want plant extracts that are unnecessary or there's no demonstrated benefit for, so get them out of there, and they will. And the collagen has 3 or 4 issues with the current formulation, which we're dealing with.
Yay!
They are sugar and or a artificial sweetener, depending which market you're in.
Yeah.
Some fermented rice and cordyceps, don't need that in there. Some vitamin C, that need not be in there whatsoever. And even a food colouring agent, which is purely presentational and is not an issue for a generalised audience who are happy with that kind of thing. But the carnivore community who are kind of clued in on all this kind of stuff and sensitive to that kind of stuff, they won't go anywhere near it. So what I've said to the company is we just need type 1 and type 3 collagen peptides in powder form, in sachets, exactly as you're doing now, without any of the rest of the stuff in there whatsoever.
Yeah.
And they'll do that for us. But first we have to get over the hurdle of getting the stuff, happening in terms of the first product offering, which is the hardcore carnivore stem enhance.
Yay!
Right, enough said.
Good.
Cool, right, let's deal with this one. What do you think on this one, Jess? How much truth is there in the theory that if you eat multiple times a day in smaller amounts, that you won't trigger insulin, and that will help you to stay in ketosis or keep you in ketosis for too long?
No, because what are you eating? Are you talking about just eating carnivore and doing that, or are you talking about?
I assume so. Yeah.
Yeah, no, because just simply we want to eat ideally the least frequently possible, because anything that we have to put in, we are then going from a state of healing and digestion, healing and repair to digestion. And so the more that we can just leave our body in a healing state, and we don't want to be eating all the time. So ideally, no, that doesn't make sense to me. And also, what are you eating when you're eating those meals? Because what are your fat protein ratios in that meal? There's too many questions in that kind of broad statement. But I would suspect no. What are you eating?
Yeah, I think that if there is an issue with eating multiple smaller carnivore meals a day instead of one big carnivore meal, it is in the fact that you don't get enough of an insulin bump to keep your kidney tissue viable and your thyroid tissue viable, and then you can end up with thyroid and electrolyte issues. Paul Saladino, for example.
My dad, for example.
Yes, for another example. All of Suresh's patients that are talking about this problem, probably. And for those that missed my discussion with Dr. Suresh during the week, that's one that you should watch if you haven't seen it already, which is also for those that have joined late. The reason for the poll on the screen right now, which is asking you, which is most important, the facts or the manner in which they're delivered? Because reading the comments on Suresh's channel, I'm a very bad bald man who's very, very abrasive. So, whatever. Yeah. I actually behaved myself really well with Suresh. I actually really reined it into for my normal, natural online persona, my act of being the rough, gruff professor that swears at everybody and, all of that. But still, his patently low IQ audience, sorry about that, Suresh, but they're thick as fuck, are all, instead of dealing with what was said, their objection was in the manner in which it was said, which just goes to show that the actual argument that I made was unassailable, I thought. But anyway, there's that. Yeah. Right. So what else do we need to know about? What else do we need to catch up on? Clearly, the fact that you've suffered dreadfully from scurvy and malnutrition and heart disease and all of those kind of things as a result of your several years of not eating a sensible, balanced diet, tee-hee. The fact that, you're not really in your 40s, you're actually in your 20s and you just look like someone who's haggard. I'm kidding. Oh dear. What else do we need to know? What's happening? Where's Jess's social media? Why isn't everybody subbed to there already? All of that.
Yeah, I don't really know. I'm just because the end of the year is so nigh, and it's full mum mode on with getting things done and things.
Mm-hmm.
I've been for me, not very present on social media much.
Yeah. Yeah.
That are coming up in
Yeah, I've had a bit of the same too, what with trying to be a farmer suddenly, as well as a social media magnate and very, very bad, abrasive, bald man who says...
You are an abrasive bald man.
Yeah, good. I make no apologies for it.
You're still so lovely, though. It's just people just don't get your attention.
Well,
and I get that too. I get that too. I've had that my whole life. People don't... Because I'm very, very bossy and I'm very forthcoming in my opinion, and I'm very... Whatever thing I'm talking about, there's a lot of conviction behind, because I've done it, I've tried it, I've learned it, there's wisdom there. It's not just an opinion, it's something that I've actually looked into and then tried on myself. People as well get the wrong intention by me, because I'm not judging what you're doing. I've had this with, all sorts of different people, but you've got to make your own decision and make your own choices in your own life. If I'm triggering you by eating this way, living this way, being really authentic, being totally honest at all times, like I'm very blunt, I don't have much of a filter, like I can sometimes be a bit tactless, I don't always deliver everything in my best, and I'm a human being, so it's not always going to come out perfectly, but my intention is good. And so is your parts. And then you can be called whatever. You could call me a bossy know-it-all. You could, whatever you want to label me as, it's okay, because I am that, really. I am very bossy, and I am very in conviction of my opinions.
Yep.
But who cares? If you just want to help the world, and this is the thing, this is why I am this way. I spent X amount of my life sick. X of my life was with illness, with digestive issues, going to all these different doctors to try and heal myself, them saying I had Crohn's disease and Paget's disease and bowel disease and bowel cancer. I was always just trying to feel better. And everything that the traditional medical industry was doing to me or helping me with only compiled my symptoms, only made my situation worse. So then when you do find something that works and you're like, oh my God, it's fucking vegetables. Vegetables were the thing. It is so unbelievable for people to be able to get their heads around that they think, oh, it's just another fad diet she's doing. Because I've been in health for 23 years. Like this is my passion, what I've been involved in. And I used to eat paleo, meat and vegetables, nuts and seeds. And I did that for a really long time, and I promoted that heavily because that was, again, my experience. And then when I had a new experience and I went, oh, God, I haven't looked deeper enough into plant toxins and poisons and how they react in our body and the havoc that they play on our health. And then when I found that out, tried it on myself, had this incredible response, you want to yell it from the rooftops because you want everybody else to be well. You want everybody else to be happy and healthy and not have overthinking, anxious minds where they're depressed and low and struggling, because that is all food, by the way. Like, there's so much to do with what you put in your mouth, your nervous system state, your hormonal regulation, and if you can get all those things in balance, health is actually incredibly easy, way easier than they want us to think it is, because keeping us sick and docile and compliant is easier. And buying their pharmaceutical drugs is easier. If everybody was healthy and well and could do it naturally with just eating a species-appropriate diet, they can't make any money off that. You don't make money off healthy humans. And so we are shouting it because we know and we want to help. It isn't because we are know-alls and bossy and abrasive and, it's just because we care.
Speak for yourself. I'm the science. I'm safe and effective. Me, don't question the science.
Exactly.
Yeah.
People don't like it.
Yeah.
But
Look at
I like challenging people.
Go on, Jess.
I was just going to say, I like challenging people. I want you to ask questions. I want you to ask the things that you believe to be true and really get into the nitty-gritty, because even me, I say I'm an open-minded person. However, right, am I that open? When I found out about carnivore, I was like, no, vegetables are good for me. Vegetables are good for me. I didn't want to believe it. The reason I became open about this subject is because my fiance went carnivore, and he was out of town, and he'd be out of town for 4 days and then come back. And each of those 4 days, he looked amazing. His psoriasis that had never healed. His body fat was dropping, and he wasn't fat. He was lean and muscular and amazing.
Just waiting for you to come back to life again, Jess. It must be that carnivore diet.
And we're still live, so I'm just going to carry on talking.
Or maybe it's my internet. There we go. You're back. Okay. Good. So you were just saying that Ants was looking amazing on carnivore. Just remind us whose fault it was that Ants went carnivore.
Yours, darling.
Oh no, I've got a lot to answer for, haven't I?
No. Good. That, I only stepped through the door once I could see with my own eyes. And that's what I think being open is really. Being open is when you can see things with your own eyes and then start looking at maybe the way you think, the beliefs you have, the perception you have, and how it's all been shaped. Because perception doesn't just appear, it's being groomed in us for however long from our experiences. So I'm just glad that I was able to open my eyes and go, okay, maybe there's something in this plant toxin thing. Maybe I shouldn't be eating these things. Maybe I don't need a rainbow of vegetables in my world. Maybe I don't need 2 hours chopping up vegetables and doing meal prep and having my little containers and all. Like, I spend hours and hours and hours a week in the kitchen prepping all this plant poisons. And thought that I was such a good mum, and look at all the raw. I make their own raw muesli, and I make their own
anal as fuck.
Yeah. It's abusive, and then you get to also at the same time you get to preach what a good job you're doing. Like, look at me, I'm feeding my children dehydrated sprouted nuts and seeds and raw cashew slices with unrefined, sugar-free, dairy-free, unrefined, sugar-free. Like, fuck off.
Just to harp back to the story, just because there will be 1 or 2 people that haven't heard this, and it's as funny as fuck.
Oh yeah.
Ants went carnivore because he was watching my YouTube channel, and you were living in the UK at the time.
Yeah.
And somehow it came up and you said, look, who the hell told you that carnivore was a good idea and all this kind of thing? And he said, oh, this crazy bald bastard from New Zealand, I've been watching his YouTube channel. Fill us in on the rest of that.
Oh my God. It actually started with him trying to send me video clips of you. So he kept sending me YouTube clips. I didn't watch any of them, by the way. He'd pop them into my messaging, and
I'd be like, of course not, because you already knew fucking everything, didn't you?
Exactly. I don't know you. There's nothing you can bring into my world,
Yeah.
And then because he was working out of London, as I said at the time, he was coming back and I could see it. So once I got that visual, oh my God, what is he doing? Because he was already super healthy, super well, super amazing. And I was like, how are you improving? How is you taking vegetables out equaling this? So I was like, what the fuck is going on? Then he said to me, babe, you should really watch those YouTube videos I sent you. I think you'd really like the guy. He's a Kiwi guy. He swears a lot just like you. He's got zero filter just like you. I think you guys would get along so well. Check him out. And so he again said, look at the YouTube video. And then he said your name, and I was just like,
for fuck's sake. Because we met already, didn't we?
Oh my God, that's my professor from university. And he was like, what? And I said, well, how many other Professor Barclays are there in New Zealand? And I was like, oh my gosh, he did my thesis at university, like, la, 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 la. And he went, oh my God, do you think he'll remember you? And I'm like, yes. Like, of course he would remember me, because we worked so closely together on my research, and because we were friends as well. And so he was like, oh, you're gonna get in touch with him. And he had like full-on fanboy going on, because he was like, oh. And then obviously we got back in contact, and obviously he didn't know who I was, and we did get back into contact with each other, and that's how I then went carnivore, and the rest is history. But I haven't seen you for probably 20 years.
Yeah.
Close to. It's a couple of decades. And it's so funny that is how you came back into my world, because yes, obviously his results spoke for themselves, and that was really easy for me to see and to get on board with. But having you as the person behind that, it was an easy shift for me then. I was like, oh, I know his mind. I know him. I trust him. If he's saying this, then it must be right. Right, I'm going to look into this further. And that's kind of how I dipped my toes in. And then the rest of history. And I did a good year, probably a year of transitioning over to carnivore. So I just went heavy meat based gradually, build it up. And because I was also pregnant, I got pregnant with Winter, my last baby. At the time, you know, it was like craving related and stuff like that too. I was like, oh, I'll just dabble. I'll just have a little bit of avocado. I'll have a little bit of low oxalate plants, and I'll, you know. And then Bart was like, okay, let's do this 90-day challenge. You're only eating a tiny bit of plant matter. And honestly, guys, I'm talking 10%, like if that. Like it was a small amount of plants and the low oxalate one. And he was like, let's just do it. And so I did it with the intention. I did the 90 days with the intention of going back to eating the low oxalate plants that I was eating. And then I did the 90 days, and it was like day and night, wasn't it, with my results and everything.
Mm-hmm.
That tiny, even amount of low poisons impact that was having on my physical body was insane. And so I did the before and after photos. You guys have probably seen them if you haven't checked them out.
I'm trying to find them right now.
Pretty dramatic. And after those 90 days, I would have been a bloody idiot to ever go back to eating any kind of plant, whether it's low oxalate or not, ever again, because I am so healthy and well and just thriving without it. So even though I had the intention to just do it temporarily and just be heavy meat based for the most part, I would never ever eat plants ever again.
Awesome.
Yeah. I'm so excited too, because each year you get healthier. Like, people worry about aging, but this is the most anti-aging thing that you can do.
There's an example.
Oh, look at my skin. Look at my skin. It's just
this is before and after 90 days strict 100% carnivore. It's just nuts, isn't it? It's an incredible difference.
Too, though, that was like a year of low oxalate. So it wasn't like I was in a really bad state. Okay, I've got a bit of excess body fat here and there, but it's the skin, it's the tissues, it's the cellulite. Have you got the side bit or the back pictures?
I have somewhere. I've got the side and back pictures. Tell you what, if people really want those, they can contact you, Jess, and I'm sure you'll. Yeah.
It's on the Carnivore Mummy page on Instagram if you want to have it checked out.
Yeah, it's linked in the show notes if you want to go there and have a look.
Yeah. But yeah, just like the cellulite and my ankle. Oh my God, I had cankles. I had cankles my whole life, and it didn't matter how lean I got. Like just before, I must have been a teenager, but I got really, really lean at one point, and even then I still had cankles. Like I just thought it was my genetic makeup. Like my tendons are quite short, and where my calf inserts and etc. I was like, oh, okay, this is just not something I can change. And then, when I did the 90 days, I now had an ankle bone that I'd never even seen before. And I was like, wow, it was just amazing. And so, I'm happily never going to go back. That was in 2022. That was January 22, those pictures. And now we're 3 years on from that. And honestly, it's the easiest thing I've ever done. People they think I'm like this magician where I just have resilience and like this willpower that's just like, but it isn't. It really isn't willpower, because when you feel this good, you eat foods that nourish you and you feel and look this way, and you don't have to exercise 5 days a week anymore to maintain your weight. And you don't have to, like, all the things that I was doing for like the bulk of my lifetime, you don't have to do that to be healthy and well.
Yep.
It's just a result of feeding yourself appropriately.
Exactly. The benefits of appropriate exercise properly applied are awesome, but if you have to exercise to maintain your body composition, your diet is wrong. Period.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there it is. All
I
right.
think I just
I'm
wanted
just
to know.
Go on.
But what's important to note as well, this is a question I had yesterday with one of the girls, because I go to the Christmas parties and I take my own little packed lunchbox of, sausages and meat and eggs or whatever. And they asked me yesterday, do you ever eat fruit? Because there's dipped chocolate strawberries and stuff around the place. And I said no, because I don't want it. There's no drive in me whatsoever to have that stuff. I love what I eat. I'm nourished, I'm happy and well. So I don't. But what she was asking me was, the one time she said that she was a vegan, she started introducing meat. She instantly said she knew her body was like, oh my God, like I just felt so much better. And then she said, but since then, I've found X, Y, and Z, and I should probably pull back on my meat. And I'm sitting there with this face, and I'm like, and she goes, what are you thinking? And I said, no! Because I don't always just tell my friends this. They need to ask me, because it's not for me, like I said to you before, to dictate what someone else chooses to do in their life. But they want to be curious and inquisitive and be like, hey, why did you do that? Hey, how come? And so I shared my experience of going vegetarian, which I went vegetarian when I was around about 16 for a whole year. I did it properly. I did supplements, and I had a dietitian doing it for me, and I had her calculate all the pieces and had all the things, right? Because that's a real big argument for a lot of vegans and vegetarians. Oh, you didn't do it right. You need to da-da-da-da-da. No, it's bollocks. You are not eating what you need to eat in order to be a human and to thrive. So she asked me, well, how come I felt better? And I explained to her about the Randall cycle and said, look, you really need to look into the Randall cycle, and this is why you did lose inflammation and X, Y, and Z, but you're going to end up nutrient deficient going that way. And she just was shocked, because she's like, nobody knows this stuff. Nobody talks about this stuff. It isn't out there. So even when I was indoctrinated through my degree in sports to eat vegetables, that they were needed, that they were essential, that we needed them to thrive, and it all being rubbish, it's important to know why you might get improvements if you do go vegetarian or vegan. And it is because of an inflammatory response, and it is because of the Randall cycle. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, go and look it up. Okay, it's really important for you to understand why you felt better temporarily going vegan or vegetarian, but why it is not going to last, and why you're going to end up in a world of pain, in a world of health problems if you do not eat meat.
Spot on.
Yeah. So I want to point that out.
TSG, you did it wrong. You never really were a carnivore. You need to hand in your card and front up for public naming and shaming. That's what it was. In fact, you need to report to His Majesty Ted for down the back of the class at the end, where he's got that small guillotine. Just line up there after class, and we'll sort you out, basically. All right, Jess, I'm aware of your time. I don't want to.
It's fine, you're fine. We're fine.
Okay, good. All right.
I want to say to TSG that a little bit of pumpkin here and there is not the end of the world, but don't eat it with skin or seeds in. You need to make sure you peel it and you get rid of those poisons. Yeah. Boil it, and then roast it in animal fat. So the more you cook it down, the more oxalates and poisons you remove. The skin, the seeds out, the more oxalates and poisons you remove. And same with potatoes. If you're going to do that, you want to peel them, you want to boil them, you want to throw the liquid away. Make sure you're not drinking the liquid or cooking them into a stew or a curry. That's not a good idea. And then freeze them. Put them in the freezer. It's going to break down a lot of the starches and carbohydrates, and then cook them in animal fat. So I am never with a client that you must do X, Y, and Z. It is about sustainability. I want you to be able to thrive, but still enjoy the things you want to enjoy. Full disclosure, I don't, but Ann eats potatoes. He is a potato fiend. And so he puts these potatoes through this processes when he chooses to eat them, because we're not going to be naive about the fact that if you ate a raw potato, it would kill you. The fact that humans are like, oh, I cook it and it's good for me, is there's disjointedness there. Know what you're doing. Do some processes if you are going to choose to have those things in your world. But what in my opinion means more is your ability to continue eating this way for the most part. Because if potatoes are a slippery slope into crisps, then then you're back into seed oil land, and then you're doomed.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
if you're, you know, so you've got to watch where it leads into, and then just also whatever's sustainable for you for the most part.
Right. Tell Ant that that young man needs to have a word with this young man too about his potato habit.
Potato addiction.
Yes. Yes. All right.
Addiction, though. He knows.
Look, carbohydrate intake absolutely is driven by the response, the dopamine response that you get from carbohydrate. You bet.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm.
People don't realize how powerful it is. It affects our mind, but it also affects our blood sugar and our physiology. So then if your blood sugar level is spiking and then dropping again, guess what? You're going to crave something else that's going to pick you up. So it's coming from your physiology. It's coming, like I said, from your pleasure responses in your brain and your dopamine responses. And you're fighting an uphill battle. If your body is asking and your brain is asking for it, it takes a lot of willpower then to go against that.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, Rick, I would suggest that you should probably never go to Ireland.
Or just don't tell an Irish person that they're a slave, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe. Yes.
Oh.
Well, what dog doesn't love carnivore? What dog doesn't?
Oh my gosh. Did I tell you I had a dog?
No, you didn't. Oh, yes, you did. That's right, you did.
Yeah, she's in London still, but she's still more carnivore. Oh my God. So we went down to see my dad a couple of weeks ago. He lives down in Carterton, down by Masterton. So like we took the caravan. It took us like 10 hours to drive down there. It was so slow. But anyway, he has been carnivore, and my stepmom, his wife, been carnivore years ago when we first started talking about this stuff. And are thriving. But my dad has lost so much weight. He doesn't eat enough. He doesn't eat enough fats. He's not eating enough full stop. And he's actually he's deteriorated a little bit, not in his health, but just in the way that he looks. And because he has a coffee cart, so he has an organic coffee roasting company, and he takes his cart to the wire wrapper and stuff. Some of the people that regularly see him asked him if he had cancer. I'm like, you're dying, and he's like, oh no, I've just gotten really healthy. But he doesn't necessarily, you've got to be careful with carnivore because we're not hungry, right? I really get hungry, and so when I start eating, that kicks in, and I'm like, oh yes, yum, I'm hungry. But before that, because I'm fat adapted, I don't really feel hungry very often, and if it peaks, it drops pretty quickly because my body will just take it somewhere else. What was my point? My point was carnivores need to eat more. What were we talking about before I started talking about my dad?
Dogs, as it turns out. But we segued all the way to your dad from a dog somehow.
How did that come? We get started. My dad breeds ragdolls and Burmese and different types of cats, and he's trying to give my kids a cat, right? So they're $1,500 per cat. But he said to all the grandchildren that whenever they're ready, they get one cat each. So he's trying to give us these bloody kittens. And I said to him, I've got to consider all of the things. One, I'm a dog person. I really love dogs. Not that I don't love cats, but I'm a dog person. And two, how much it's going to cost to feed these two cats, because we've had to get two of them, raw carnivore. Like, And he's like, no, you can just feed them biscuits. And I'm like, no, Dad. I said, no, I would never feed an animal. That's cruelty. Like, he's like, oh, it's not so much. You just give them these, it's called nuts, and it looks like cereal. And I'm like, oh my God.
Seriously?
They get meat every day, but they also are getting this processed, refined bloody grains and God knows what else.
Yeah. Cool. Well, since we've been on the farm here for about 7 weeks now, our two dogs have gone bonanza because fucking they have had their absolute guts full of eating cow shit, sheep shit, goat shit, any shit they can find, duck shit. It's all good. We have two shit-eating shit-eaters, but I'll tell you what, they won't have a vitamin B deficiency, these guys. And what they get fed by us is 100% raw carnivore, always has been throughout their entire lives, even before I even met Pam or knew these two dogs. She's always done that. And these are two dogs in their late teens that could well be puppies, except for their bloody obstinate attitudes towards doing as they're told. Well, maybe that's more like a teenager. I don't know. You tell me. You've got one of those, haven't you?
Very much like a teenager.
Tell us about it. You've got one of those now. Good luck.
She's not quite. I'm still a little bit far away, but she's 12, so she's like right on the cusp. But she's quite a young 12, and I actually want to keep her as a young 12 as long as possible. It's frightening to have a pre-tween. But, oh my God, I have to tell you, yesterday, Mum came over. Winter came and asked me for something out of the advent calendar because we've made an advent calendar and there's different like things. And she's like, "Can I open one of the advent calendars, Mum?" And I said no. And she burst into, chocolate. I want a chocolate, right? Has a full meltdown, full tears, everything. And I just said to her, no, darling, I can understand that you want that, but you're not having it. You might be able to have something on Christmas. I don't want it now, having a meltdown. I said, okay, Winter, like you can have it. You can either go and play or I'm going to put you in timeout. And she just straight away, it was the weirdest thing. She's just straight away like, okay, I'll go and play. And she just runs off and plays. And it was the quickest turnaround. We're talking seconds from full-blown tears, totally regulated and calm. And my mum was sitting there watching this experience and she was like, oh my God, Jess. And I said, when have you seen a 4-year-old regulate themselves that rapidly, that quickly, have the comprehension, understanding, like it was insane. And it is because she doesn't eat carbohydrates. She doesn't eat sugars. So she's very regulated and balanced. And when you give her, you can play or you can have a timeout, these are your choices, she will take one of them and she's going to take the one that serves her the best. But it was just hilarious because it can be that easy for parents. And parents think that if they have to say no to their kid, it's going to be this big palaver and they're going to have to say no 50,000 times and it's going to be this big battle and la, la, la. It took like one sentence in about 10 seconds. Like, it doesn't have to be like that. And so I think parents and humans need to know that your kids' behavioral problems, instability, irrationality, brain fog is food related. Dietary, so is skin conditions, all your gut. So it can be an enjoyable experience to parent when your kids can regulate themselves and they're not pumped full of sugar. How easy it was. It was so amazing to just have that really clear thing yesterday. My mum was shocked because obviously my niece and nephew eat a standard balanced diet. And she lives with them, so she and he's one of them's 9 and one of them's 11. So she's seeing ages of children that should be reactive, and my kids don't do that. And it's so different seeing the way that different children are when you feed them appropriate foods.
Yeah, awesome. And I can confirm all of those things that Jess is saying. She's not making shit up. I have spent time around the family. I have spent time with those 3 kids. They are awesome. Yeah. And it's just like this is like Stepford kids. It's not okay. They're not perfect. I'm not saying they are. Nobody is except me, of course, because I'm the science. Don't question the science. Safe and effective, I am. Not to mention bald and arrogant, but and abrasive. But of course, at the end of the day, if you're sliding through life so lubricated that nobody comes with you, what's the point? A bit of abrasiveness actually drags a few people along. That's my theory anyway, and I'm sticking to it. Yeah. A bit of abrasion is good in most circumstances, and I only mean most. What do you think?
What you're saying is true, though. They are amazing kids, and a lot of it boils down to the fact that they can regulate themselves and they are in calm states because their hormones aren't all over the place because you've been feeding them inappropriate food. So I do put a lot of their behaviour down to what they eat, and the other part being down to their nervous system. I taught my eldest to actually test her nervous system and see what state she's in and then regulate herself. And like she has these tools that most of us just, 1, don't even know exist, and 2, don't know how to apply them. And she's 12 and doing this stuff. So I'm excited to see like the person she grows into and the change that she has in this world, because she's just so zen. I don't really know any 12-year-olds that are just really secure in who they are and very balanced. But,
Yep.
you know, I'm also, I want to put it out there too, that I'm also not perfect in my parenting by any means, or in out, like you said. I haven't told you this either, but we're actually putting them back in school.
Oh, are you? Okay.
It scares the fuck out of me. Like, there is a lot of parts of me that are like, what are you doing? Don't do that, Jessica. Don't. It's not safe. It's an indoctrination camp. It's like all the things, right? I am very well aware of the matrix and not, you know, we live in it. We have to play by some of the parameters, but, you know, I'm not bought into anything. But I'm also aware that I have this beautiful, young, innocent Snow White, and I'm sending her out into the world with zero life experience of the real world and environment, and that she's just going to she'll fall for everything. And she's such a lover, like she's so romantic that she'll fall in love with the first boy that promises her the world. And then, you know, like I can just see if I don't let her have some exposure now to boys, to bitchy girls, to food, to other things that are out there living in the world that in the time that she's growing up in, that I'm actually doing a disservice to her by not allowing her to kind of learn for herself. So as uncomfortable it is for me, I've decided to let them go back to school next year and get a bit of a taste of the real world and support them around that as much as I can. Because what was coming very clear to me, Bart, was that if I end up with a 16-year-old who has no idea of anything, she is going to go out, she's going to put everything in her mouth, she's going to poison her body, she's going to, she's going to, and then it's unlikely that she's going to come to me for support or advice because I hadn't allowed her to make her own decisions. You know, what she eats is my choice. It's not hers. And so I am trying to give her more space to be her own person.
Well, that's very brave of you. I'm impressed. For those that don't know, Jess took her kids out of school a few years back because of what the school was trying to literally ram down their throats. And as usual with Jess, her response was to tell them to get fucked and do the schooling herself at home. So it's a big thing. This is no small. Okay, wow.
I know. It is not. It's not a decision I made lightly. And if there is anything that I feel that is not right, I will pull them straight back out again. Like, this is not you just get to guaranteedly go. You know, they have very set parameters. If there's any lying, any stealing, any mean girl behavior, they will be straight back out of school. But yeah, it's really just giving them the opportunity to not be Snow White and to actually experience some things, eat the wrong thing, see the response on their health, notice that, clock that, be like, okay, I ate that, now I've got bloating and skin issues and you know? Hopefully, because you can't teach, and oh God, I've learned this so much in the last few years, that you cannot teach someone really anything. All you can do is present the information and then allow them to step forward into trying it, and then they have their own experience and their own wisdom, and then they learn. Because all the knowledge in the world is great, but if you don't apply it and there's no experience of that, there's zero wisdom. And so my kids have no wisdom. They have all the knowledge with zero experience or wisdom, which means it's not going to last. Right. And it's been so hard because I don't want to let them out into the world where I know they're going to eat junk. I know they're going to be on screens and devices. And we have no screen Monday to Friday. Like, we have parameters in our family. And at the moment, it's very easy to enforce that because I've never had those things. Like, it's just been something that I always knew that screens were damaging. Like, you imagine even us as children, we would have had very limited TV time, and you never would have been sitting close to the TV. Like, would have been, move back, you're going to ruin your eyes. And like, we've always known that there's something unnatural about it, and we need to limit our time on it. And in school, they're literally working on iPads and on devices, and it is just brainwashing. Yes, I agree with you. There is no education going on. And that's not why I'm sending them. So that's okay, because I'm sending them for life experience rather than education.
Yeah.
And I have laid down the foundations of what is important in life, and I've just got to trust and hope that that has sunken in enough to carry them through and navigate them through the things that they're going to be exposed to.
Yeah. At the end of the day, Jess, you are their touchstone and you always will be. And even if they do go slightly off course, I have full faith that you'll be able to bring them back to the right course and to the truth and to the right way of being and living and thinking and all of those things. No doubt whatsoever. All right, I think we should wind up because I've got a farm to run, and it's been awesome catching up, Jess, and we don't do it enough because you're so stupidly busy. I'm so stupidly busy. It's been an absolute pleasure. It's been a treat. You've shared some wisdom and knowledge with us that's worth gold. So thank you very much for that. Remind everybody, where is your social media, and also where is your link to get Hardcore Carnivore Cerule or any other fine Cerule products other than wending its way across the bottom of the screen right now? Where do they go?
Yeah, meatnutrition.cerule.com is for the Cerule products. Definitely, guys, let's get on behind the carnivore stuff because we want this product out. So that's my little 2 cents on that. I'm going to get some as well. The social media is mainly my Instagram, which is at the Carnivore Mummy. I also have the Jessica Treatment page and a website, which is thejessicatreatment.com. And that's all about my nervous system, brain, neuromuscular specialty. I am one of 20 in the world and I'm a health expert as well. So that's kind of a little bit on there. So yeah, you can always reach out to any of those platforms to reach me, and my YouTube channel, which I haven't used yet, but I'm going to start logging stuff on, which is the Jessica Treatment as well on YouTube.
Awesome. All right, Jess, thanks very much for your time. Appreciate you. Love to Ants. Love to the girls. Love to your mum. Say good day to your mum for me. Aye.
Wink.
Wink. Nudge. Say no more.
Good. She's gone strictly carnivore again, and she's looking really good.
Good.
She's doing
awesome.
Fixing up her body bits. But yeah,
Nice.
she's doing good. I will definitely say hi.
Good. All right, Jess. Love you a long time. Don't do anything I would. Trust it. All right. Have one yourself, and we'll catch up real soon. Thanks to everybody for being here too, by the way. Thanks for your comments and participation as well. See you soon.
I couldn't read them. Yeah, I'll read them later.
Yeah, all right. Let's finish with the singing of the national anthem of Pimbatia because it's compulsory. It goes a little bit something like this. Steak and eggs and eggs and steak. That's what you should have for your breakfast. Delicious. Eggs and steak and steak and eggs. Just making sure you heard. I think they got it, Ted.
Yay.
All right. Yay. See you later. Ciao. Bye.
Ciao.